North Avenue Bakery, Hotel Praia Sol, Luís Firmino Insurance, MCM Clinic, Top Burger, Go Car Service, Coimbra Restaurant. Olá, muito boa noite, bem-vindos a mais um Legal Way. É um prazer estarmos na vossa companhia, é um prazer, uma vez mais, irmos discutir tudo aquilo que diz respeito à imigração, porque é importante estarmos bem informados, and it's with great pleasure that I'm welcome again Dr. George Russo. Thank you very much for your availability once again. Doctor, how things are? Too much confusion or everything is calmed down now?
Well, changing every day. Definitely not calm, but changing every day.
What are the biggest change that we are facing right now? You know, we have the situation in Minnesota. If that brings any big changes as far as immigration, or we still have ICE active in communities like Newark? How you see that? How you foresee what happened right now?
Well, the Minnesota situation has faded from the news. The biggest change, I guess, is that the Director of Homeland Security has been, well, I don't know about fired, but she's been transferred to a new job that didn't exist before, they transferred her. So now there's going to be confirmation hearings on a new Director of Homeland Security. That person, is Senator Markwayne Mullen from, I believe, Oklahoma. He is largely in lockstep with Kristi Noem on all of our policy procedures, maybe without the $200 million ad campaign that was a PR nightmare.
Correct.
But as far as, the same policies, we expect that to continue.
All right, so let's move on to a few topics that I have here. I have a person from Ecuador that asked me about TPS. Mm-hmm. So does a person from Ecuador will be able to apply for the TPS, yes or no?
There's no TPS for Ecuador.
Is no TPS.
No.
So because there was some notice in social media regarding that, so
no.
That will not apply. What are the countries that the people can still apply for the TPS?
Oh.
Is few like Haiti, I know there is one.
They're trying to get rid of, for Haiti, they just announced they're getting rid of Yemen. Look, this is basically like you have TPS now, or basically you're not. I wouldn't count on anyone getting TPS like new.
Correct.
Like new TPS.
New
like,
TPS.
If you're in one of the countries that, and I don't have the list memorized, but it's on USCIS.gov. Just Google TPS list of countries. You'll be able to find it. But they're drawing down.
Correct.
The countries that have the TPS designation.
So the TPS stands for Temporary Protection Status, right? So
That's
that
correct.
basically allowed the people under certain circumstances to apply. So for Ecuador, and that is one of the questions that was brought to our attention. So for Ecuadorians, we will not such thing as TPS. Do not spend your money on that.
No, it's probably a scam.
Yeah. Doctor, I have another question. Someone that came from Brazil without a visa through Mexico, is that person be able to get legal through a marriage here? So it's a lady that came 12 years ago from Brazil through Mexico, never had I-90, like a point of entry situation. What are the chances for her to get paperwork here through a marriage with an American citizen?
Yeah, it depends on whether or not they're in removal proceedings or not.
No, they have a clear record, no issues.
Okay, all right. So if they're not in removal proceedings, and they can still get legal through marriage. They would need a petition. They would need a waiver of unlawful presence, and then they would do the visa application, right? So that's still an option.
Okay, so that waiver application is done through the process, so is multiple steps that needs to be complete, right?
Right.
Can you tell us, exactly what was the first? So.
Okay, the first step is what's called a petition. The role of the petition is to establish the legitimacy of the relationship, right? Any family member can be petitioned for, basically. So your immediate relatives consist of a spouse, a child under the age of 21, and a parent. Those are your immediate relatives. Your siblings and children over 21. Those are called. They're not immediate relatives. Okay, they're preference category relatives. So in this situation, that person needs an immediate relative, in this case his spouse, to file the petition for him. Once the government determines that there's evidence that that relationship exists, your petition will get approved and you'll move to the next step, which is the waiver.
Só está clarificado, portanto, há dois steps que têm que ser completados, mas fica também, portanto, aqui a clarificação que há a possibilidade de pedirem, portanto, ou de abrirem esse processo. Doctor, now, changing a little bit the scenario, if that person was checked at the port of entry on the south port, is no longer an option?
What do you mean checked? Fingerprinted?
Yes.
So if they were fingerprinted, that means that they're in the
Process of
ISIS system.
removal.
Right. Well, not necessarily. So if they're fingerprinted, that means that they're on ISIS radar. The removal process doesn't start until what's called a notice to appear is filed with the immigration court. That's what starts the removal process. So there's a lot of people that have been printed, but for whatever reason, ICE hasn't delivered that notice to appear to the immigration court. So it's two different categories. It's a technical but important distinction. So that person can still, even if they are in removal proceedings, they can still go through with a family relative petition. There's ways to do that.
So this person is asking me, so they've been in the country for almost 3.5 years and never got any letter in the mail. They've been living at the same location. What are the chances for that person to be stopped by ICE? So they've been here, they come towards the board, they've been fingerprinted, no court procedures, nothing, no documentation being received. They can be stopped still?
They should know their rights if they're stopped.
Yes.
Yes, they can be questioned by ICE if they're encountered. Yeah, absolutely. Yes. So can me, and so can I, and so can you, by the way.
Correto, correto. Só fica aqui, portanto, o que o doutor referiu foi que qualquer pessoa poderá ser parada por agentes da imigração desde que haja uma dúvida que essa pessoa poderá ser. Portanto, o facto de não ter recebido qualquer notificação de um tribunal não quer dizer que não seja parado ou que não enfrente, portanto, essa situação. Doctor, I have a situation here very unique. A person that had an asylum case from Angola, okay, Portuguese citizen, and also, citizen from Angola, got an asylum case and got the work authorization to work here in the United States, turned 67, got Social Security, and then that was cut. And now is being advised to go to the Social Security Court. No, to go to the Social Security because it's a pending case. he was not able to renewal the asylum case from Angola, what he needs to do? For sure, visit you. I think that is the most important thing, right?
Yeah.
He had work authorization for 8 years.
Okay.
Is that normal?
So people who have a pending asylum claim, asylum cases can take a long time. People, when you have an asylum claim, you can apply for work authorization, although the government has recently changed the rules on that to limit the eligibility for asylum work authorization permits. But going back to his situation, it's possible that he could have had his employment authorization for that long. As for a notice from the Social Security Administration, I don't want to say without reading that notice, because it could be a number of things.
Could be. Só fica aqui, portanto, a informação. A melhor maneira é mesmo entrar em contato através do 973-344-9120. Os escritórios do Dr. George Russo estão localizados no 48 da Wilson Avenue. Poderão ser várias situações, portanto, é preferível ter toda essa informação e a partir da informação recebida é que se poderá tomar uma decisão. Doctor, I have another situation here. Visa high for a person that is in Brazil looking to work here as an entertainer. Does he need a sponsor from here or from Brazil to submit that application? He's already in the country.
On what visa?
He came with a regular visa.
Tourist visa?
Tourist visa. Can he apply for that? He has a portfolio, he has everything.
That becomes tricky. There's a number of different visas he might potentially be eligible for, depending upon his resume, his qualifications, and potentially an employer's sponsorship. But that would require him filing the form to change his tourist visa to a different type of visa. And with backlogs, there's a risk that he could become out of status while that petition is pending. He also has to be very careful not to engage in any type of unlawful employment while he's here on his tourist visa. But that is a complicated situation. I don't think I could fit into it. Into this.
So basically, that person should leave the country and apply there in Brazil, or?
Well, they should meet with an immigration lawyer that can tell them how to get their paperwork ready to apply once they're back in Brazil, for sure.
Correct. So, but he will be able to start the process with an attorney from here.
Yeah, I mean,
that's correct.
Maybe it's possible to change your status. Maybe it's possible to change his status while he's here. It's going to be very difficult if possible, but yeah, he can start getting the paperwork ready to file that once he gets back to Brazil. Yeah, absolutely.
I have another situation here, a person that is being detained, a family member that is detained at Delany Hall. That person came from Portugal, overstayed their visa, so I'm assuming that they've been here for more than 20 years because, for the past 15, 16 years, it's been asked but they overstayed their visa. They've been detained. He's been detained for almost 2.5 weeks. Is any way that person can be released on the bail?
You're talking about ESTA overstay?
No, it's not ESTA. They overstay in the visa. He can with the visa.
Oh, okay. All right. So,
but he overstays, I'm assuming, because, from Portugal, that was almost 20 years ago when the country used to have visas. So he overstayed for a long period of time.
Yeah.
That's my assumption here.
So this is someone who could be eligible for an immigration bond. People who overstay a visa waiver are not eligible for immigration bond. But someone who comes on a tourist visa or someone who comes through the border is eligible for full removal proceedings, and they're able to request a bond. So that determination comes down to whether or not the judge has jurisdiction, right?
Okay.
So last summer, the Trump administration took the position that people who have been in the country for a long time and are without status are what's called arriving aliens, okay? So that's being litigated in the court right now. But if he's in New Jersey at Delaney Hall and he's someone who overstayed his tourist visa and he can show connections to the community, hopefully maybe he's got some qualifying relatives, then yes, that's so. And well, of course, no criminal convictions that would preclude him
Seems
filing.
that he has a clean record. It was just stopped, a random stop.
Okay, so in that case, an immigration judge here in New Jersey would likely have jurisdiction in order to decide a bond case. The other thing that he has to be careful about is being moved out of New Jersey to a less favorable district, for example, somewhere in the Fifth Circuit like Texas or Louisiana, where judges will take a different position.
So, but can an attorney prevent them to be transferred to a different location?
So in that situation, an attorney would need to file what's called a temporary restraining order along with a habeas corpus motion, which is filed in federal court. In order to get a temporary restraining order, you would have to show some type of irreparable harm. 2.5 weeks in, that irreparable harm might be speculative. I mean, a lot of people will say, like, don't move me to another jurisdiction, like, it'll cause me harm, but it would require going more into detail on his case.
Fica aqui, portanto, a informação. Depois de estar detido por 2 semanas e meia, portanto, poderá ser questionável esse pedido de uma reparação, algo irreparável, mas poderá ser analisado. É necessário, portanto, informações adicionais para saber exatamente em que situação se poderá colocar essa pessoa. Uma vez mais, 973-344-9120. Doctor, I have another question here that is related to someone that had a few, I'm assuming there is DWIs. I think that I asked you that question before. I'm not sure. A person that had 2 offense DWIs in a green card wants to go back to Portugal for a month. That person may be facing any issues when they coming back or no?
Well, it depends on the facts of those DUIs.
Okay.
So when that person enters the United States, they'll, will do a biometric check, which will be a fingerprint, right? And it'll run their system, and then they might get referred for secondary questioning in the back in the secondary room at the airport. And the officer there can ask about that type of question, okay? So while it's unlikely that that person will be denied entry to the United States, they could be admitted as something other than a green card holder. And they could also get referred to an immigration judge. Depends on it depends on the crimes.
The criminal. Now, when you talking refer to a criminal judge, what that means? That you got to go to the court, like someone that is like waiting asylum case, for example.
Yes.
With the difference that one has a green card, right?
Yeah. So not a criminal judge, an immigration judge,
Correct.
Right? So the people at the customs officers at the border cannot take away your green card. They don't have that power. Only an immigration judge can take away your green card. So what they can do is they can charge you with immigration offenses and refer you to the judge. And then those like, for example, a qualifying crime can get you to lose your green card. And then you'll have to present some type of defense to the judge that says, I shouldn't lose my green card for whatever reason. There's defenses.
But that person can be detained while waiting for a judge, depending on the circumstance, correct?
Yeah, I mean, I don't think they'd be detained for DWIs, no.
Correct.
No.
Ok, fica portanto aqui a clarificação. Depende sempre do cargo criminal que tem, com 2 ofensas de conduzir com influência. O doutor disse que não pensa que poderá ser detido, mas poderá sempre ser enviado para um juiz de imigração para que o seu caso possa ser analisado de modo a que possa, portanto, depois ser resolvido. Doctor, is a person that has a criminal history like that one, two DUIs, they will be facing any challenge when they try to become American citizens?
Yes. So when you apply for citizenship, you have to show a period of 5 years of what's called good moral character. So 5 years of basically not getting arrested. Okay. So this person who's got two DWIs, especially if one of them was in the last 5 years, I would not apply for citizenship right now.
Correct. Will be most likely denied, and that can open up the same situations like going to the airport and the immigration agent can require him to go to a judge. Is it the same process?
Yes, yes, it can. So when you go apply for citizenship, you'll get an appointment to go for biometric fingerprinting. If you live here in New Jersey, that'll be in Elizabeth.
Correct.
Now, it's possible that one of these crimes happened years ago, and it didn't trigger an immigration notification. If you had your green card for 20 years, maybe 10 years ago you had some type of criminal offense, and they're just realizing it now when you go for biometrics.
Correct.
That's a situation where that can come into play. And they can either they can deny your application, or they can deny your application and say, you'll be getting a letter in the mail saying you have to appear in immigration court.
Isto é muito importante porque é importante que as pessoas saibam, portanto, os direitos e os deveres quando fazem uma aplicação, portanto, para se tornarem cidadãos americanos. O que o doutor referiu foi que uma pessoa que, por acaso, possa ter um caso criminal nos últimos 5 anos, por exemplo, conduzido debaixo da influência de álcool, que não deve apresentar esse pedido porque o agente de imigração poderá requerer que ele se apresente perante um juiz de imigração para discutir, portanto, uma regra que existe, que é que nos últimos 5 anos, para ficar cidadão americano, deve demonstrar, digamos que, bom comportamento e, por exemplo, ter sido detido devido a conduzir debaixo da influência mancha imediatamente a sua situação. Portanto, é muito importante. It is important, doctor, that the people understand that with all the, I don't want to call that change, but the reinforcement of the law, because that is nothing new. Correct me if I'm wrong. This is something that was in the new, but in the law, but was not reinforced. Is that correct, or is something that was changed lately?
Well, they're trying to change the law every way they can, but they're not. The way you're supposed to change the law is by Congress writing the law.
Correct.
They're not doing that. They're doing it by the executive changing the law, like what we talked about with bond, for example, how the government has taken the position that someone who has been here for 30 plus years is an applicant for admission. I mean, it's ridiculous on its face, right? If you've been here for 30 years, you're obviously not applying for admission, right?
Correct.
But they've changed the law to say that, right? So they're changing it in different ways, but, there's ways to push back on that, no matter what they're doing.
Só fica aqui, portanto, a informação. Muitas das situações há uma, digamos, medidas da administração que tentam reajustar, trocar, através do Poder Executivo, alguma das leis para tornar mais óbvias para a administração agir perante situações de pessoas que estão aqui ilegalmente e, portanto, esse reforço, digamos, de poderes poderá ter um impacto direto negativamente em alguém que procura a legalização. Doctor, I have another question here. Eu quero voltar, antes de fazer esta pergunta ao doutor, Podem entrar em contato connosco através das redes sociais, através dos nossos números, com qualquer pergunta que possam ter. Lembro também o número de telefone do Dr. 973-344-9120. Os escritórios dos doutores estão localizados na Wilson Avenue, no número 48. Doctor, someone again that comes from Brazil, this person come in the visa from Brazil, overstayed the visa, was deported from here in 2003, come back through Mexico 3 years after. What are the chances to become legal here through marriage with an American citizen?
Not good.
Not good.
A re-entry after deportation, yeah, he's not getting, he's not
You're not going to be able to?
No. That if he was deported in 2003 and then came back in 2005 through the border, that's called a re-entry after deportation. There's a very serious bar that prevents that. Okay, so
that person can be stopped anytime, can be never been fingerprinted after that. Since 2005.
Well, yeah, I would assume so.
I
Yes,
would assume, correct.
So yeah, he's subject to a lot of strict laws. He should definitely speak with a lawyer too about knowing what will happen. But they can pick him up and they can send him back, and he won't. Well, he could have filed for asylum as one of the ways around that. But we're way past asylum at this point. Yeah, he's got a rough situation.
Só fica aqui, portanto, a clarificação para a pessoa que nos contactou, que foi deportado em 2003, veio com visto, deportado, regressou pelo México em 2005, tenta agora a legalização através de casamento. É uma situação bastante difícil porque há leis que prevêem exatamente esse tipo de situações e poderá ser deportado a qualquer momento baseado nessa situação. Doctor,
can I also
yes,
can I also say that it's beyond criminal charges it's beyond immigration charges. It's called reinstatement of removal, and it's technically a criminal offense. Okay, so normally an immigration violation, crossing the border, is a civil offense. Okay,
correct.
But this situation where someone was deported, and then when he got deported, he was probably got a 10-year bar on reentry and entered within that 10 years. That's called an illegal reentry, and he's subject to a reinstatement of removal, which means not just another deportation, potential criminal, like time in a federal prison. So he's got to really be careful. Is what
Ok, o que o doutor, portanto, acabou de referir é que poderá ter tanto, é um processo criminal, acima de tudo, não é simplesmente um processo civil como alguém que entrou pela fronteira e que tem um processo civil. Como é reincidente, esta pessoa poderá mesmo ter ou de cumprir uma pena numa prisão federal, porque é um crime, it's a federal crime, right?
Yes.
É um crime federal nesta altura. Portanto, é muito importante que as pessoas conheçam exatamente as suas alternativas. And doctor, to conclude, because they asked me this follow-up, does this person, if they decided to go back to Brazil, do they need to wait 10 years there, marrying with an American citizen to come back here? Or do forget about that? It's not an option.
You definitely wait 10 years. And then on top of the 10 years, they need to file a form application for permission to re-enter.
That application should be filed immediately now before he leaves the country if he decided to do that? Or
No, you
got to wait the 10 years.
Yeah, he's got to wait the 10 years, yeah.
Portanto, fica aqui, portanto, não caia no conto do vigário, é por isso que não. This is important that we have someone that goes straight to the point and don't tell us to try to do that, try to do that. O que o doutor acabou de dizer é que, portanto, a melhor solução, a única solução é mesmo sair do país, esperar 10 anos e depois aí tem que fazer um pedido para poder, portanto, reentrar. It's like a pardon for the petition is to ask
Right.
United States to consider for him to coming back here, right?
Right.
It's no guarantee still.
Exactly. Now, the other thing is that I know we speak generally on this because it's a TV show, right? So I'm saying things generally, but in a lot of situations where someone has a prior deportation order, there might be an option where you could do what's called a Freedom of Information Act request, because maybe, like, especially someone like 20 years ago, they were a little more sloppy with how they were filling out those notice to appears that we talked about. There might have been a procedural defect
Correct.
in that, which would allow you to reopen the removal order. But in a case like the guy that we're talking about, where he's subject to reinstatement of removal, you see a lawyer before you go filing anything, because if you file something, that might alert the government, like, hey, I'm back in the United States. So that you got to be really careful about that.
Ok, fica aqui, portanto, a clarificação que foi apresentada pelo doutor, ter a certeza que num programa de televisão falamos de forma genérica. Cada caso é um caso e mesmo antes de tomar qualquer decisão tem que ter a certeza que está legalmente assessorado para ser determinado qual é o processo correto para poder resolver o seu caso da maneira mais correta. Doctor, those 30 minutes fly.
Yeah.
I really appreciate your help and see you in a couple of weeks.
Yeah, and one more thing.
Good.
If you have DACA, and a lot of Portuguese people have DACA.
Okay.
If you have DACA and your DACA is coming to be, it's time to renew it, you want to file the renewal at that 6-month point, because it's been
6 months prior.
6 months prior to the expiration. It's been in the news that the government is dragging its feet on DACA renewal.
Okay.
DACA renewal applications, even if you don't have a criminal record or whatever. They're dragging their feet, and sometimes people's DACA status will lapse. And there have been at least a handful of cases where people who have DACA, who have to have no criminal convictions, they have been picked up by ICE because their status lapsed. So if you have DACA, you should be aware of when you can refile so that you don't run into this type of problem.
Só se tem DACA, um conselho muito importante, renove dentro dos 6 meses que antecedem o seu DACA caducar, porque poderá levar a um caso em que há uma indefinição imigratória e tem havido situações onde agentes de imigração apanham portadores de DACA sem qualquer tipo de cadastro, mas que estão num período de indefinição migratória. É muito importante, portanto, o doutor diz que fazer isso imediatamente assim que a renovação esteja disponível, that is 6 months, correct?
Right.
Doctor, thank you very much once again. Este foi mais um Legal Way. É sempre um prazer. Temos aqui o Dr. George Russo. Eu volto a dizer o número de telefone, 973-344-9120. O escritório do Dr. George Russo está localizado no 48 da Wilson Avenue, aqui na cidade de Newark. Doctor, have a great night. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. Fique bem.
Este programa tem o patrocínio North Avenue Bakery, Hotel Praia Sol, Luís Firmino Insurance, MCM Clinic, Top Burger, Go Car Service, Coimbra Restaurant.